I got caught flirting with a groomsman at my cousin's wedding. He took off his ring during the toast. Hello, Reddits. My name is Willow, and I'm at the very verge of losing everything I've ever known and worked so hard for. I had gone and overdone it, guys. I don't know how to get out of this. I didn't know he was going to see me. I hadn't even known he had seen me already. I thought everything was going on normally, that I was fine and wasn't going to get caught. I was smart enough. I had been in the game for long and knew how to handle men, or so I thought. But he caught me. My husband, whom I've been married to for 3 years, caught me flirting with one of the groomsmen at my cousin's wedding, and his reaction afterwards had been devastating. My husband is my cousin's groom's best man, and he was meant to say something during the toast, as has always been required of best men at weddings. And my husband had done exactly that, but ended the toast with a biting remark that ended up shocking everyone at the party, and then he took off his ring and left. It's all my fault. Alex was never like that. My husband had always been extremely shy in public, and he never liked anything to do with drawing attention to himself or to anyone. He avoided public relations as much as he could. Outside of business, he never really interacted much with others except it was necessary. He had a lot of acquaintances, but not lots of friends. And saying something like that in public must have been because he was so upset by what I had done, and I just knew I was in more trouble than I bargained for. And my suspicions were confirmed when I got home that evening. Everything that happened had just been horrible. Really horrible. I didn't mean to flirt with that guy at the party. It was harmless, really. It didn't even mean anything to me. Flirting came naturally to me. I guess following the line of work I did before. I worked as an escort for a few years before I met Alex at all. My parents and anybody else didn't know this. It was only Alex that had known because he was the one who brought me out of it. I moved far away from home to settle in a new place with no familiar faces, because I thought that was the best solution. I didn't want my parents nagging me to go to college. I wanted something different for myself, and when I told them that, they refused to agree. And since I was old enough, I just moved out of their house. Surviving on my own, especially as a young girl, was hard, and therefore a year after leaving home, I found myself working in a club as an escort. The pay was quite nice, and I got a lot of adventures with men following them around to wherever their money was capable of pulling me to. I slept with them too. It was my job, and I felt like I had no choice. Life was easy with the easy money I made from sleeping with those men. I bought myself an apartment, a car, and even was able to live really comfortably. It was during one of those escort services I met Alex. He had been pulled to the party by his friends who felt he needed to go out more. I was there as an escort, an eye candy on the invitees to the party. But Alex caught my eye easily. He stood out, and he clearly wasn't interested in everything they did there. And I guess I caught his eyes too because I saw him another time at the club where I worked. He was there with his friends, but he clearly had his eyes on me. Alex was very different from every other guy I had ever met. He was interested in me and not just my body. He was interested in what I liked and disliked. He wanted to know my hobbies and what I wanted to do aside from escorting men. He saw something in me that others didn't, and before long, it wasn't hard to leave the life of an escort. Alex bought me a small space where I could paint as freely as I wanted. He wanted me to do something other than what I did, and it really made me love him more. We started dating within 3 months of meeting, and by that time, I had stopped working completely at the club, despite my boss's protest, and I was always either at Alex's place or in my workshop painting. Alex was my dream man, and he still is. He's not only handsome, but also loving, kind, and caring. He took care of my needs and wants without me even having to ask, not minding that I had my own money saved up from the lots I got from the men I slept around with. Alex didn't mind my dirty past, and after a year of being together, he proposed to me. We got married and moved back to my hometown. Alex apparently got a bigger job opportunity coincidentally at my hometown, and we moved back. My parents were happy I found the right man, even though they approved of Alex, as did everyone because of how kind and gentle he is. I was happy. I finally did have everything I wanted, and it was really so for 2 years. But then something was just different in our 3rd year of being together. I couldn't understand. Everything was still pretty much the same. Alex had not changed from being the loving man that he was before. In fact, he didn't even change when we had gone to a fertility clinic and found out that I was infertile. Alex had taken the news in good faith and even encouraged me. He didn't even bring up kids after that. He was just content with it being the two of us, especially after I refused to adopt a child, even knowing that was our only option. Alex was still the same man, but yet something was just different. I wasn't happy. I just wasn't satisfied. It felt like something was missing in my life. I didn't know what it was and why I felt like that, but I just was desperate to be happy. And I tried everything humanly possible except cheating to be happy, but I wasn't. Although I never told Alex that I was unhappy. In fact, to him, I was a contented and happy wife, because I pretended to be so in front of him. I didn't want him to feel like I was ungrateful for sticking to him despite my past, and the fact that I couldn't even give him a child. So I pretended to be happy right in front of him. I picked up other hobbies besides painting. No one really bought the painting except Alex, by the way. I tried taking up cooking classes, but that was a disaster. I tried picking up some other hobbies, but there were just excuses to drop them all. I really couldn't figure out what was wrong until that day. Alicia had called me. She had somehow gotten my number from someone. She was a friend that I worked with in the past. She wanted to meet up, and I decided to meet her up where she was. I didn't want her coming around and exposing me to the people I had carefully structured my life around. And for the same weird reason, I never told Alex about Alicia. He did know who Alicia is, and although he never approved of our friendship, he never said anything about it. I was the one who decided to cut ties with everyone related to my past, and Alicia had been one of them. But then again, I just found it uncomfortable to tell Alex about meeting up with her, so I lied that I had an interested customer who wanted to buy an artwork, and asked me to bring some of my pieces with me. Alex had been pretty excited for me, and he even allowed me to take his car. I met with Alicia, and hearing her talk about the past was quite refreshing for some reason. I found myself missing the freedom I had to sleep with anyone I wanted and still get paid for it. I envied Alicia when she kept talking about all those men and how much she got paid for a week's escort. She sat there telling me everything and then wishing she had someone like Alex in her life. She told me she wanted to leave and go start afresh somewhere else, but didn't have the funds to survive for long, especially with little to no qualifications. Right there, as I sat there, I knew what I wanted to do. I convinced myself that it was to see whether or not the feelings I got from talking to Alicia were real. So I went to that club, the one closest to town and a bit further from home. I didn't want anyone to recognize me, but someone had that day. Rick had recognized me, and that had really been the beginning of my doom. Rick was my younger brother's friend. In fact, I watched them growing up together, playing around and getting in trouble together. I had not seen Rick since I moved back, and I only found out that he left for college after I left home and hadn't come back since. But he was there in that club, and he recognized me instantly. Rick had apparently come back into town a few days before that day, and he went to the club to relieve stress. We sat together and talked about everything and anything, and by the end of the night, something that was never meant to happen happened. I wasn't even drunk. I knew exactly what I was doing, and Rick wasn't drunk either. We both knew what was happening and went with it. I didn't understand why, but the more Rick and I spoke that evening, the more sexually aware of him I became, and before I knew it, Rick was kissing me, and I was allowing it. When he dragged me outside the club and into the nearest hotel, which was just very close to the club, and paid for a room for both of us, I was fully aware, and yet I allowed it to happen. It was different this time. I wasn't sleeping around for money like I did the first time before I met Alex. I wasn't sleeping with someone for love like I did with Alex. I was sleeping with Rick because he made that feeling of dissatisfaction go away. Rick, although many years younger than me, knew exactly where to put his hands and what to do with my body, and I had several orgasms that night before we finally stopped. It was only after we were done I realized exactly what I had done, but I didn't feel as guilty as I thought I would. I knew instinctively that it was bound to happen sooner or later, but perhaps with a different person, not the one I practically watched growing up. I begged him to keep whatever that happened between us a secret, and he promised me. I even said all the right lines, told him that it was wrong and couldn't happen again. I told him that I loved my husband and I couldn't lose him, and Rick hasn't minded at all. He told me he wasn't in for a serious relationship anyways, so that settled it. That should have settled it, but it didn't. I crazily craved that satisfaction again that it seemed only Rick was able to give me. We grew really wide together. going to clubs together and having fun, getting drunk and ending the night with lots of sex. He even introduced me to a few of his friends who were always willing to join in the fun whenever we invited them. Not necessarily sexually, though. It wasn't exactly easy sneaking around Alex's back to go out with Rick, but it became easier when Alex started having business trips that would take days, sometimes weeks. I was free to do whatever I wanted, and I did exactly that. I think my brother may have suspected my relationship with Rick because he started asking questions after 3 weeks of my wild affair with Rick, but I managed to evade him. Rick introduced me to a world that I had never known even as an escort. I knew how to satisfy men because of the job I did before. I perfected the act of seducing men, but nobody really ever paid attention to my needs too, even Alex. I was always the one seducing him and pleasuring him. Even though he would offer, I never accepted because I didn't think it would be enjoyable. But with Rick, I explored everything and I thought I loved it. Loved it enough to risk my own marriage and everything else on it. Rick and I kept things going like that for more than a month, without any suspicion except that of my brother's. But since he had no hard evidence, he couldn't exactly confront me with the truth. I tried hard to play the perfect wife whenever Alex was around. I didn't step out with Rick no matter how much I itched to do so. I played the perfect wife who was happy being married and being able to paint and allow her husband to buy all her paintings. But when he wasn't around, I was the same wild girl that I was once before I met Alex. Rick started to get really bold with our affair. He had in fact started to bring our wild affair into my own home. We started sleeping together in the room my husband had set aside for my art. Then we gradually moved into the living room and then the bedroom. Nobody except my brother thought it was absurd, him coming to my place as often as he did. Rick had always been into art too, something we had in common asides our affair. So they thought it was only natural that we tried to work together on something. Rick was also younger than me, so it was easy to wave off anybody's suspicion. So Rick came around any time he wanted except when Alex was around. Rick had told me once that Alex made him uncomfortable. I thought it was just guilt from doing what we were doing, so I dismissed his fear. We continued our affair, but then again, I started to cheat on Alex not only with Rick, but with others too. Randomly, I slept with strangers. Sleeping with Rick alone had started to become unsatisfying, so I started going behind Rick's back too, to sleep around. If Rick noticed or knew about it, he said nothing. He just continued sleeping with me whenever we did have the chance to. I know I sound like a slut to you guys right now, but I really couldn't stop myself. Having sex became an addiction to me. It didn't matter who it was, so long I had that feeling of satisfaction which never lasted longer than a day. I didn't sleep around with strangers as often as I did with Rick, though. Maybe 3 or 4. I couldn't stop no matter how hard I tried. The feeling of guilt didn't even stop me, so I thought there was nothing else that could stop me, but that was a lie. A big lie, in fact. Because the one thing that eventually stopped it and made it vanish completely was the look in Alex's eyes when he dropped his wedding rings on that table and left. Every feeling that I had always had before that kept pushing me to continue the way I was going, left me, and all I want to do right now is getting Alex to forgive me. My cousin's wedding was coming up. Alex had become even more acquainted with my family than I ever was over our short period of being married. They loved me, and most times, I felt like they loved him more than they loved me because of how they love him. So he had proposed to his girlfriend, whom they've been together for a year already, and he asked Alex to be his best man, and Alex had agreed gladly. Everyone was preparing for the wedding. I was one of the bridesmaids, and therefore, I was involved in every plan. But that didn't stop me from having time to have sex with Rick, though. We always found a way or some way of getting somewhere private to have sex, but no one knew, no one suspected us. But Alex had. He had found out about my affair with Rick, and I never even knew. I don't know how he found out. Perhaps through that naughty text that Rick had sent me 4 days before the wedding when I had carelessly left my phone lying around in our bedroom, and I had gone to the kitchen to get a drink. But then my phone was untouched when I got back. The message didn't look read to me, and I thought I was safe. Or maybe it was when Alex had found Rick, and I arguing about my other lovers 2 days before the wedding. Rick had been careless that day, almost getting us in trouble. He had decided to bring up the topic about my other lovers and was sounding jealous. I remember telling him that he was also one of the many, just to tease him, but Rick had taken it so seriously, and we ended up arguing about it, and then Alex had walked in on us. But then I changed it quickly. I told him we were only arguing about the colors selected for decoration, and Alex said nothing. He didn't even react, and he just smiled and left us. I didn't suspect that he knew. I wasn't attentive enough to know that Alex had shifted away from me. He was barely sleeping at home, and when he did, he was stuck to his laptop, and only came to bed after I had already slept, and he was up before I even woke up at all. He barely kissed me or told me anything about where he was going anymore, but I just assumed that it was stress. Being a best man and also working as much as he does was taking a toll on him. I just assumed that everything would be back to normal after the wedding, but I was so wrong because nothing ever went back to normal. The day of the wedding came, and it was quite cute watching the couple say their vows. I even smiled and looked at Alex, remembering our own wedding day and expecting to see a smile on his face. But Alex had just simply looked away from me. I dismissed it, thinking it was probably just my imagination that Alex was angry with me. So I partied hard. I danced and danced with so many people. Everyone was having fun, as was I. Alex, although, had just sat in a chair and sipped his drink. When I asked him to dance, he said nothing, just simply ignored me. So I turned my attention to the next person who caught my eye. It was one of my cousin's friends who had traveled down for the wedding. He was part of the Groomsman, and he had been giving the eyes ever since he came around. So I went to where he stood watching everyone while sipping his drink, and I started flirting with him. It meant nothing to me. I just enjoyed watching him blush at my choice of words. It was fun, and eventually I stopped and went back to my seat, so that no one started to suspect that I was flirting with someone else while I was married. I didn't want to raise any suspicion at all, but I guess I had because Alex had seen me. But I hadn't even known that until he was called to give his speech as the best man. He started his speech congratulating the couple and wishing them happy years, and then the havoc started when he was about to end his speech and told the bride never to cheat on her husband and proceed to rub it in his face. And while everyone looked confused, trying to understand why he made such a statement, he gulped down the rest of his drink, and he then removed his wedding ring and placed them on the table and then left. Everywhere was silent, and everyone was looking at me for some sort of explanation, but I had none. I didn't know what to say or think. I went after Alex, but he wasn't home by the time I got home, and so was his car. I ended up waiting up all night, too anxious to sleep, wondering why Alex had done what he did. I was panicking, but Alex was not home, and he didn't show up until the evening of the next day. He showed up right after everyone was there. He had apparently called my family and our friends to come to our place, and while everyone sat waiting for him to show up, he did after 30 minutes. He didn't even spare me a glance, just went directly to where everyone was, and then made some very shocking revelation. He told everyone right there about my past, the past I tried so hard to conceal. He told everyone about my past as an escort, and he also exposed my affair too. My recent indiscretions with Rick and the others. I was shocked listening to the recording he played right in front of every one of Rick and I arguing about my other lovers. He must have walked into the room and had been there longer than I thought he was, and had heard everything, and he had even recorded it too. I didn't know what to say or how to react. I didn't even know I was crying until my cheeks felt wet. I couldn't look anyone in the eye. I felt ashamed. Maybe I should have tried denying it, laughed it off, or called it a joke between Rick and I, but my actions just made me more guilty, and there was no denying it. My brother had been the first to move. He marched angrily out of the house and came back some minutes later, dragging Rick by the collar. He had a broken nose and blood stuck to his mouth, which was definitely swelling. It was a big disaster that evening. Alex just kept staring at me with nothing to reveal his emotions on his face. My mother had sworn angrily at me and would have hit me if my dad hadn't held her back and ordered her and my siblings out of the house back to their various homes. He only tapped Alex on the back and then left without saying anything to me. Rick ran out after being released by my brother, the coward. I was left alone with Alex. I cried hard. I went on my knees pleading that he forgave me. I tried explaining myself and giving the reasons for doing the awful things I did, but Alex just listened to my loud cries and said nothing. He watched me cry and beg for forgiveness, and yet he stood there looking at me like some piece of garbage. Then he finally removed his feet from my hands and just walked out right after telling me he didn't want me in the house when he returned again. I was too scared to stay, fearing just what he would do to me next, so I moved a bit of my things out, hoping that if he had a few days to himself, he would forgive me. I kept texting and calling, but Alex wouldn't pick my calls or reply to my texts. It felt like a death sentence staying away from Alex, and it didn't help at all that my parents wanted nothing to do with me or helping me win back Alex. I've tried everything I can to win back Alex, but nothing is working. He changed the locks after I moved out, and he threw the rest of my things away. I met them near the garbage can, ready to be picked up by the garbage disposal company. I don't know what to do or how to get by. It's like every day keeps getting worse, and I really don't know how to handle anything anymore. I want Alex back, and I really regret everything I did. I know I shouldn't have done them, and I regret them terribly. I really need your help, guys. I don't know how to get back into Alex's good books, but I'm willing and desperate to try anything. Please, what should I do? Update. Hello, Reddits. It's been 3 rough weeks since I first posted here. It's just awful knowing that everything keeps going from bad to worse. I've had the roughest and toughest days of my life ever since Alex kicked me out, and each day just keeps making it worse. My life has no regard anymore. I've managed to reduce myself not only to a whore, but to one that is meaningless as it is worthless. Everyone thinks so, and I know so. Everyone hates me, but it doesn't hurt as much as knowing how much Alex's hatred tops that chart. Staring at the divorce papers sitting in my left drawer is proof that he does hate me and wants nothing more to do with it. It's so painful how your life is this way one minute and then the next minute. It's almost like you cannot even recognize what you've become because suddenly it happens. Staying back at my hometown had not been an option after a week, mainly because of the attitude everyone in the town suddenly started putting up with me. No one wanted to be associated with me, especially my family and Alex. So I had to move back into the apartment I bought selling my body in the past because I hadn't sold it. It feels so empty and cold, reminding me exactly where my life's at the moment. It reminds me of the ugliness that is now the color painting of my life, and it feels so horrible staying here. Far away from Alex. It's so horrible having to wonder what he's doing and what he's thinking from afar. It's crazy how you only miss something when you no longer have access to it. I had full access to Alex before. I miss everything about him. His thoughtful face when he needed to think about a new way of solving problems. His face when it lights up when he's excited or happy. His face when he's pleased or even unhappy. I miss waking up to his arms around me on the bed. I miss his grumpy self always switching off the alarm when it goes off when he was the one who set it up himself. I miss when he would dance around the kitchen while making the only food he knew how to make, pancakes. I miss the way he looked when he was about to get mischievous. It's so sad knowing I will never get access to those things ever again. I will never know what it would be like to be in Alex's warm arms every night anymore. I will never get to see him smile or laugh while interacting with my mischievous cousins. I lost a good man, and it was all because I was selfish and greedy. Alex made sure I lacked nothing. He saw me as some dirty escort, and yet he didn't dismiss me. He listened and helped me change. He loved me into wanting to be a better person. That should have been enough reason for me to always appreciate him, but I never did. I took him for granted. I took him for granted when the doctors declared me infertile, and he stood by me dismissing his dreams of having kids. He never cheated on me, and never for once gave me any reasons to doubt his love for me, and yet all I did was smash his trust and traded it for some stupid pleasure. Rick had since that day disappeared, probably back to where he was before coming back home. Nobody even faults him as much as they did me. I was sleeping with a younger guy, and I still went around frolicking with other men. I behaved totally and thoroughly like a sex worker, just without the pay this time. I'm ashamed of myself, and I know that I did the most stupid thing. I wish so desperately that I could turn back the hands of time and undo my wrongs. I wish I had some second chance to just do things right. But life doesn't ever do do-overs, right? I'm going to be stuck feeling like this probably for the rest of my life. My brain and my heart are now at crossroads with each other. My brain keeps remembering every single detail of that wedding when I thought it wise to flirt with another man. Right there, where Alex was. And thinking from his perspective, he was probably trying to keep exposing me to a minimum, but yet there I was, laughing and flirting with another man like I didn't even care if he saw. I keep remembering that evening when Alex had looked at me differently. Not with love or adoration as he had for the past 4 years that we've known each other. Alex looked at me in disgust, and that alone will forever haunt me, because I did that. I caused that look in his eyes with my actions, and I feel so terrible. It doesn't help matters that you guys are trying your very best to make me feel even more terrible. Your cruel words, each carefully constructed to push into me even deeper, the knife in my chest. Your backlash comments leave me breathless with tears every time I read them. It's so horrible. I know I'm at fault. I did everything I came here to explain, but no one had even tried to see my pain and my desperation to make amends. Everyone is refusing to see just how badly hurt I am by my actions and how regretful I already am. You guys just went straight for the kill, punishing me more than I already am being punished for my sins. I know I never should have come here to explain, knowing I will receive judgments, but then again, it was my last hope, my last attempt at redemption, and yet all I eventually got was disappointment and even more guilt to deal with. I got nothing. No encouragement, no advice on how to work things out with Alex from you guys. Just pure hatred. Being ignored by the people that once adored me was already too much for me, but coming here with my whole life story and still getting the same response is a whole lot of baggage to deal with. I've been stuck in this room trying hard to make sense of everything else, but nothing makes sense. My life simply doesn't make sense. Not anymore. Not those guys on social media having a field day with my life. Not with you guys right here insulting me. Not with my whole life falling apart, and especially not without Alex. Nothing, absolutely nothing makes sense without him in my life, and it's so painful I realize that only too late. I should never have cheated. It's so awful knowing that I could have made better decisions. I should have never cheated on Alex. He was perfect, too perfect for me, and yet I was too blinded by my selfishness to see truly what gift I had until I lost it. I wish there was really some sort of way to redeem myself, but there's nothing. Alex was my second chance at redemption. He was my saving grace, the angel sent to me to help me turn away from my wicked ways, and yet I still managed to take for granted the peace I was given. I still managed to lose it, and knowing that I have no other chance at happiness is so traumatic. The thoughts that Alex would probably move on one day with another woman who would know his worth, who would understand just how spectacular he is, and will treat him as well as he should have been treated. A woman so beautiful that Alex will remember nothing of me other than a biased decision he made towards helping someone like me, who still ended up disappointing him. A woman who will love him the way he deserves to be loved, and she would cherish him and treat him right. A woman who definitely never cheats or behaves as wantonly as I have. A woman who is not me. My head hurts, and my heart just squeezes more painfully thinking about all the opportunities I have for over 3 years to understand just how important Alex was to me, but I refuse to see it. And now that I've lost that chance, I'm seeing it clearly. I'm seeing it so clearly, and it hurts so badly. Now that I have no one on my side, no one to tell me that it would be all right, that I will get by even though it's a lie, because I know there's no getting past this. But I have no one, absolutely none, to tell me just how to get by. Even Alicia has moved far away with her new family, and she's apparently too happy and cannot even spare any of her time to see me or even reply to my texts. I'm stuck in this cold, empty apartment with my thoughts, and it's so choking, now that I think about it. There were better ways than cheating to have handled the whole situation. I could have easily talked to Alex about it, and we would have tried different ways of making each other happy, instead of trying to force him to see what wasn't obvious. I should have done better. Now I've ruined my only chance at happiness for life, and there's no undoing it. I wish I had been more sensible from the beginning. I wish I knew the end from the beginning, then perhaps I would have learnt about all of these happening and prevented it. If this is what the rest of my life looks like, I don't think I look forward to it. I don't look forward to a life without Alex in it. I don't look forward to a life full of some pain and regrets that seems to add up every day. I don't look forward to this life that promises nothing but pain and emptiness. I don't look forward to these millions of broken pieces that are now my life. Because there's no way to put it back together, even if I spend years doing so. I'm shattered, and I'm so scared I'll remain so forever. I wish I had a chance to do things over, that maybe I could get the opportunity to go back in time and undo my wrongs. I wish that I could get forgiven for all the damage I've caused, but that will never happen, right? I will never get a second chance. I'm going to be forever stuck like this sad, lonely, and depressed woman with so much pains and regrets to last her lifetime. I hope you guys learned something regardless of how much you detest me. If nothing, learn to hold on to that special person in your life and not let them go like I have, and now stuck with so many regrets. Thanks and goodbye.